I have a good feeling about this season because there's already been a lot of drama about the rules, the rosters, and now this new trade with Cousins and Bargnani has already set the tone for a very intense season, which is we all need to keep the passion up, and probably the best fantasy league that there is. Let's start with the champs, the winner from last year. Clearly on paper the team to beat, and has great credibility as a manager as well. One thing I like about the champs is if you look at his history, he does not make a lot of moves. There's so many people that pick up and drop players constantly throughout the season. The champs might make one or two trades, pick up one or two players, and that's it. And he's been very effective. Let's not forget 2 seasons ago, I think he finished number 2. One thing that I don't think can just keep happening is the lack of injuries. Injuries catch up to any team, so that could be his only major hurdle this year. I mean, he's already off to a start with Mike Miller out. The question is, can some of his older keepers like Nash and Nowitzki keep performing at the level they are performing at, and then can he avoid injuries? Final prediction, 1 or 2 for the champs. Bala Shawkala, unlike champs, picks up players, drops them all the time, always uses his Mach 35 moves every year, but in his defense, he's a former champion and he has a different style and it's worked. In terms of his team, trading LeBron James a couple years ago, clearly putting him to a rebuilding phase, but he's still got a good, solid team. He does have Stephen Curry, who I think should probably still finish in the top 10. In terms of the rest of the team, you look up and down, he's fairly deep. I thought he had a good draft. I like the Kleizad pick, I like the Augustine pick. The Hedo Turkoglu pick probably was the biggest risk to the team. It could be huge. I mean, anyone who plays with Steve Nash in the past is usually a good fantasy player. So, good manager, tough team. I would actually say this team is going to finish 3 or 4. The coach, another former champ of this league, has a very deep team. He just doesn't have a lot of star power to build around. Amari Stoudemire, Gerald Wallace, probably his top 2 players. They're not really top 10 guys, more top 20, even maybe top 30, I think, this year. But he does have depth, and he's a solid manager. Ray Allen, Vince Carter, Paul Pierce, a lot of his team's success relies around those 3 guys. Those are aging guys. None of them have been terribly injured in the past. This manager has a good track record of finishing well. I'm going to give him top 3, 4. Super Stickman Dan actually had a really risky draft, which I don't really think is much different in some ways than taking a lot of young players. He took Yao Ming and he took Greg Oden. Definitely risky. And Troy Murphy also on the injured reserve. Plus the aging Marcus Camby. I mean, he already has Dwight Howard. This guy could just dominate boards and blocks and field goal percentage. Just kill everybody in those stats. And then he doesn't have that bad of a supporting cast. Monte Ellis, Chauncey Billups, Brandon Jennings. Top to bottom, this team is not that bad. But the odds of all those guys staying healthy, some of them aren't even healthy to start, are so slim. I still think this team is an underrated team. I think it could surprise people. I'm going to put this team in the top 3, 4. Highway to Evans, coming off probably the worst year I've ever seen a team have when it comes to injuries. Last year, almost his entire team was injured. This year, it'll be interesting to see. Much of his success, as always, relies about Dwayne Wade. You throw in Kevin Martin, who's been injured every year for the last 3 years in the mix. Al Jefferson, Tyreek Evans, all are injury prone. The only way this team is going to compete if it can avoid injuries. If it can avoid injuries, it's an average team, maybe slightly better than average. If Robin Lopez can have a breakout season with more minutes and a bigger role, this team might have a better chance. I think you should definitely make a move to add another solid keeper. You might keep in the mix most of the year, but there's nothing really that stands out about this team. That's final finish, 4 to 5. Highway to Evans, probably a little better than last year, but I just don't think the depth is there. Winner, remember last season finished second, but it wasn't until the end of the year that I made a run. I was riddled with injuries throughout the entire year and was only able to move my way up at the very end there. This year, probably have the second best team on paper at the start of the season. Means very little. Anchored with LeBron James and Pau Gasol, it's a pretty good 1-2 punch. A lot of this team's success is going to be dependent on its bigs. Andrew Bogut is pretty fragile. Last team struggled majorly in boards and blocks. A lot of the team's success is going to rely on Andrew Bogut, and that's a lot to ask for. Really like my draft. Who doesn't like their own draft? I'm a little worried about Darren Collison. He had a good few months last year, but he's got a real role now. People are going to look for him to deliver. Defenses are going to be on him. We're going to see what he does. Look for Eric Gordon to have a breakout season. Jeff Green was a steal in the draft. Top finish for winner, 1 or 2. Haywood Ginobili, it's really hard to actually analyze this team. If Chris Paul stays healthy, if Joe Johnson can have a good year after that big contract, if Aaron Brooks can break in the top 25, if Landry gets his minutes, I think Hickson's going to have a great year. I like the Noah pick. I think Channing Frye will probably take a step back fantasy-wise from last season. But I think this team is better than most. He's a good manager. I'd say finishes 4 or 5. If Chris Paul stays healthy, he could make a run at the top 2 or 3. Stroke It, a big change from Suck It. I preferred the Suck It name personally, but Stroke It is probably fitting. Let's look at his name. Let's look at his team. He's definitely got a core to build around with Roy and Carmelo. And top to bottom, he really isn't worse off than many of the teams out there. But this is the type of team that could fall apart quickly. There's so many unknowns. Evan Turner, Terrence Williams, Roy Hibbert, even though I really like that pick. Jameer Nelson's been injured. I mean, half his team could not be in the top 100. Now, on the flip side to that, a risky team could mean greater upside. I don't have a lot of hope for this team, however. I think he finishes 7 or 8. Derrick Rose, again, a good fantasy player if you can just accept the fact that he's not a great fantasy player. He doesn't hit threes. Until the guy hits threes, he's run-of-the-mill point guard, you know. Taking your talents, clearly motivated this year with a trade off the bat. Not a trade I tend to agree with, but we've already discussed that. We'll let it go. I think he's going to regret it in the long run. Also doesn't have a good history, credibility when it comes to trades, so whatever that's worth. It could be very good if he has like 7 different things go perfectly. Breakout seasons for Drew Holiday, resurgence of Gilbert Arenas, Stuckey having a year he's never had, Kevin Garnett not getting injured and regaining KG-like status. You name it. This team needs a lot of good things to happen for it to really compete. Final prediction here, 8 or 9, unfortunately. Spaghetti and Meatballs, another name change. I like Chris Came in Your Mouth better, but yeah, maybe he needs a new mojo to improve his squadron. He's been a surprising team in the past. I think this team actually starts strong, finishes weak. I think Kobe Bryant's gonna get less minutes this year, less role. He's gonna all about be preparing for the playoffs. Westbrook could have a breakout year, but is it a breakout fantasy year statistically, or is it a breakout year for him as an all-star and as an NBA player? This guy's bigs are lacking big time. Drew Gooden, Andres Biedrus, Emeka Okafor all in the starting lineup, probably worst in the league. Antoine Jamison and Rashard Lewis, 2 aging former fantasy stars, can play like they have in the past, which is seriously unlikely. This team may be able to compete. Again, too many things have to go right for this team to succeed. The Bargnani trade could add a lot, so I'm going to give this guy, could finish 6-7. So let's have a good year. The fun thing about this year is outside of a few teams, I think it's pretty even. And even those few teams that are a little bit better, a few bad things go for them and they're brought down to the rest of the pack. So I actually think a lot of teams have a chance to compete. We'll see how things break out.